I also got the message.
This meeting is being recorded.
Can I
Yes, please.
share
Now you can start the presentation.
Well, as I was talking earlier, the agenda of our science is to ensure the clean air, water, and environment to our next generation. That involves the sustenance of natural resources with a minimal disasters. And when that happens, there would be security, survival, and peace. Probably all of you are aware that what's happening in Kodagu and, in the coastal districts of Karnataka, the people are facing the severe crisis, mainly because of the mismanagement of the ecosystem. That is where, we need to understand that we need to be responsible in our decisions and ensure that ecosystem integrity is maintained. For that, we need a sensible citizens. Probably you will understand in the next slide what I mean by sensible citizens. These are the group of people who have the knowledge about environment, environmentally literate citizens. That is where to enhance the environmental literacy in our system. I always, I keep telling the government that we need to enhance have the environment education at all levels of our education so that people will know more about the environment and ecosystem. Otherwise, that what has happened with the contemporary education model is only the digital addiction has happened. And I have seen most of the, many people have become masters of copy and paste than understanding than really having the skill in their the profession or in their life. Okay. So now with this, let me share with you how the nature functions. Our agenda, as I said, is sustainable development. If you plan properly, that is where if you learn from nature, nature is a good teacher for all of us. So that gives us an idea how we can manage the system. For example, simple food chain, what we look at it, probably the children's in the class, the third or fourth standard would have learned this. There is a, the plants produce the food, which is eaten by the next level of organism. When you look at this carefully, you can see you can also learn the principles of thermodynamics. The material and energy transfer happen from one level to the other level. And also as it happens, there is a loss of energy. That is what we talk about law of entropy. Then whatever is left in the system, you see is getting converted into the elemental form by bacteria and fungi. They act as the bioengineers or efficient biodegraders. That's where when you look at nature, there is nothing called waste. Now, then where do you see the waste? You see the waste where more and more waste people are there who are dependent or who misuse the synthetic material, and they are creating the burden to the nature. Now, let us try to understand how we contribute to the waste in the system. For example, when you look at this, the people who use this, they probably are the more, friendly to the nature compared to this group of people who depend more on this kind of a thing, bottled water, the packaged food, etc. Every time when they consume that food, not only they are contributing to the generation of the plastic, they are also consuming the dioxin. As you all know, the dioxin is a carcinogen which introduces cancer. That means when we consume food in this plastic boxes and the water bottle, etc., naturally we are also paying price for the poor health in our system. So then when you look at the thing that today the plastic has got into the system so much, people have become so lazy even to get the food for the children, they get it packed in a polythene bag. Of course, the government of India has banned the polythene bag now, the single-use plastic, the last week. I hope that will be implemented in the country in the true spirit. Now, the problem with the wide use or misuse of plastic is that you see that it is getting into our the food chain through the animals. You see that the herbivores are consuming it, or you can see the many. And unfortunately, you see that even the country prime minister has to bring the awareness by cleaning the road, etc. These are all the things what we should have learned in our day-to-day, in our school days. We have not learned. And in the process, we have made our prime minister to get into the sweeping of the road to remove all the contaminants that are there in the road. So now let us try to look at the statistics about the plastics. If you look at the bottled water, you see that 26 billion liters of water is being bottled in the country. This is data about the 6 or 7 years back. Now, that amounts to about 28 billion plastic bottles in a year. So, of which they have at least about 88% end up in the garbage. That is where, when you look at the solid waste management, because of this too much of plastic and mixing of the plastic with the organic material is creating a problem in the management of the waste. And when we use the plastic, the bottled water, we are not only spending the money, we also have the health issue, because the studies have shown there are toxic chemicals in the, like BPA, the bisphenol in the bottled water. That certainly will give the health problem to the people who consume too much of bottled water. Then the third thing is the environment. When we just throw it in the environment, then that leads to the problem of the solid waste, and eventually it get back to the pollutant in the air and the water, which I will discuss later. Now, our study shows that there are the 1,500 water bottles end up in a garbage every second. These details are available at this website. Those who are interested can get the details further on this aspect. Now, when you look at the other problem with the plastic, see, when we are consuming 26 billion liters of water, naturally, we are also adding to the carbon footprint. See, at the one end, we all know the warming of the earth is happening because of more and more emissions of carbon in the environment. Now, this, the too much use of plastic is also contributing to the carbon. And, when you look at the amount that is spent on this one, it comes to about 100 billion rupees. So, now, to summarize what I said so far, see, by using too much of plastic, we are not only wasting the money, we are also polluting the Mother Earth. And that is where we need to wake up and make everyone in our system understand about the too much of the plastic usage in our system. I'm sure that the apartment will take a wise decision on the use of plastic, so that we can have a minimal plastic use in the system, which is only essential in the thing. When I visit some of the apartment as a part of my study, the last month I visited one of the apartment near the Sai complex. They are doing a good management of the solid waste, but the problem they are facing is the plastics. That is where we need to bring awareness among the communities about the implication of too much use of the plastic in our system. So this is what I said. When you drink the bottled water, you spend the money, you pollute the earth, and of course, we are also polluting the water resources also. And all this happens with the bottled water. So now, if you can see the amount that has got into the system, there is when we manufacture the bottled water, there is the heat transfer happens. Whenever there is a heat transfer, naturally the chemicals that are there in the plastic will get dissolved or get released from the plastic to the water. That's how it get into the water. So this is from the manufacturing to the transportation to your the house. The heat transfer happens. Plastics do not degrade so easily, and but there is a phenomenon called photo degrade. That means they break into smaller pieces in the presence of sunlight. When break into smaller pieces, that get into the air, and if people inhale that, they will have a respiratory the problems, etc. And the other thing is that the microbeads which get into the water, get into the fish. When fish consume their algae, naturally these plastic beads also, microbeads also get into the fish, and which get accumulated in the fish body. Naturally, when people consume the fish, they are also consuming the plastic. That's how what we give to the system, we are also getting it back. So now when you look at these heaps of plastic, you can see that it's because of the irresponsible citizens and the victims of our children. They are paying the price for our mismanagement of the resources. So now to discuss further on the plastic, my study shows that blockage of sewers and drainages happens, and because of that we have the flooding happening in the region. In some of the stormwater drains, I have seen the truckloads of the plastics accumulated in the system. So that is also gives the problem of the flooding. Then the second thing is that become the source of breeding of the disease vectors like mosquitoes, etc. Naturally, when the mosquitoes are there, you have the problem of dengue, chikungunya, etc. And the today's paper talks about the dengue deaths in the country. That shows that throughout the country, we are mismanaging the resources. And the best thing is, let us say no to the plastic. So now the problem of this one is getting into our food chain. And also you can see that how this the monkey is trapped in the polythene bag. So now, more importantly, if you are not worried about animals, at least we should be worried of our children. We should not expose them to the contaminants of the plastic, which will give certainly will give the cancer, heart ailment, and reproductive problems, etc. Now that's where you see more and more such problem in our system because of the harmful effect the plastic has, and it get into us through our food system. Okay. Now there are variants of plastics. We have the plastic bags, plastic sheets, etc. Some of them you can see that is inevitable. But you know that how foolish decision we take up. For example, if you look at in a Bangalore, we allowed the IKEA to come up in the place, where there's already a bottleneck of the traffic. Now, because of that IKEA showroom, you see that more and more traffic bottlenecks are happening in the region. Not only that, the Americans have banned some of the plastic items. Those items are being marketed through the IKEA. At one end, we say that Bangalore is a knowledge city. Bangalore is the people with a vision. But at the same time, I see this kind of irresponsible decisions are taken to allow such kind of contaminant getting into the system. And I do not understand who are these people who go there every day, who choke our road and buy these plastic spoons, plastic buckets, etc. from that place. That is where we have to bring awareness among the people. That is where I would say that first thing we need to bring awareness among the children is that we need to be responsible. If you are responsible, we'll refuse, we'll reduce, and we'll recover and recycle and reuse. So when people are responsible and wise, they will not allow any pollution to happen in the system. Then we will be reducing the waste at the source, and there are schemes for the reusing and recycle or recovering this one, or eliminate that from the entire system. This is the chain. This is the pyramid we should be using so that we can minimize the problem of the plastic waste in our system. So now, in that regard, there are legislations have come up in our country. Way back in 2000, we had the municipal solid waste. And of course, that was amended in 2016. And we brought in the construction, demolition waste, this one, and the e-waste, and all those rules have come, and they are very good rules. Legislations are very good, but we are failing in the implementation. When you look at the kind of the regulatory agencies we have in our system, I sometimes wonder why the people working in these regulatory agencies lack the spinal cord. That is where the problem comes. When they lack the spinal cord, when they become indecisive, we see more and more pollutant getting into the system. When you look at the solid waste rule of 2016 or at 2000, what does it talk about? It says door-to-door collection, segregation of waste, and we need to handle the biodegradable waste should be converted into the compost or the biomethane, which can be the energy. And recoverable and non-biodegradable waste should follow the route of recycling, and landfilling shall be restricted to the non-biodegradable inert waste. So if this is implemented, then you do not have the landfill site problem in the city. As per the statistics, the Bangalore city generates about 3,000 to 3,500 tons of waste every day. And 60 to 70% is organic. Another 10 or 12% is the recoverable waste. So if you do that, then you are left with a less than 10% of the waste, which is inert, that should go to the landfill site. But instead of doing that, instead of segregating at source, we are dumping everything. And that is where 3,000 tons of waste is being transported to landfill site. And people in the vicinity of the landfill site have to pay the price for the irresponsible behavior of the population in the city. That is where if you can make sure that segregation of waste happens and conversion that into the the manure and the energy, that would be the best option for the city. So now when you look at the solid waste, I have summarized in this slide what I have said earlier. The problem is because of the irresponsible citizens, there is no segregation happens, and we have a very weak regulatory mechanism and inefficient municipalities. Then we have the nexus of contractor, engineer, and bureaucrats. This one, that is where we are unable to solve the problem of solid waste in the city even today. We have been giving the suggestion, we are requesting the government to have an autonomous agency, authority for managing the solid waste. We should get rid of the BBMP in managing the solid waste, and that agency, the agency which can handle that should be autonomous, so that and accountable. When that happens, probably we can see that Bangalore roads are free of the waste, unlike what is happening today. So now, when you look at the composition of the waste, we have done the survey. We have been doing the study in the city for the last 2 decades. And the study shows by and large about 69 to 72% of our total waste is organic waste. That means, the Indian population being organic, we generate more of organic waste in the form of vegetable peel, etc. That segregation of that and converting into the manure is the best solution for the thing, so that 70% of our problem is solved. Another 15% of the problem is because of the reusable or recycling material. We should store it separately. Probably we can give it to the agency which takes it and convert it into the value added product. Probably that should be done. That is there in a European country, but unfortunately in our country, slowly that system is failing. When you look at the functional element of the solid waste, you have these various components: generating the waste, storing the waste, collection. Then you have the transfer and transport. That is where the transfer stations are required. Then we have the processing, and finally the disposal. This is the section which plays a prominent role in our management of the solid waste in the city. Now, when you look at why the solid waste is becoming a problem with the plastic bag, if you look at the degradation aspect, organic waste degrade within a week or 2. That means, the bacteria and fungi convert the organic fraction of the waste into the elemental form. So, but if you look at other, this one, paper 10 to 30 days, cotton cloth 2 to 5 months, woolen item 12 months. And if you look at plastic bag, the estimate shows 1 million years. So that's where every time when we use this polythene bag or a plastic, we are contributing the waste to our next generation, not just for the next century, for the next the 100 centuries. Now, when you look at the management of the waste in the city, so if you see that door-to-door collection is implemented in some part, and as per the norm, the apartment are supposed to have their own the treatment the facility. I had worked in the environmental appraisal committee. When the approval was given to the builder to construct the building, the consent for establishment, this is one of the conditions that all the builders have accepted, and they said that they will handle the waste at the source itself. So that means each apartment complex will have the waste processing unit. So that is where the organic fraction get converted into the beneficial products. So, but when you look at the city, the waste, though it is segregated and people collect it, because some of these Paurokarmikas are real heroes. They make sure that segregated waste only they collect. But unfortunately, you see that afterwards, because of the gap in the system, that waste get mixed. So that is where we have brought to the notice of the authorities how to minimize such kind of lapses in the system. Now, after collecting, our study shows that it is dumped in various places. The lakes which I work, all my lakes have the footprint of the solid waste. This is what happens in the system. The other, about probably before the COVID, when I came to the Bangalore and Vartur, in one of the instances, what I noticed is that when my student went down to collect the water sample, I was still on the shore. I saw a person coming in a BMW car with a polythene bag containing the waste. And that person just throws that plastic bag into the Belandur lake and just tried to start her vehicle. Then immediately I called her and I asked her, Madam, what is happening? Why are you doing it? She said, this is the location is meant for disposing the waste. Why are you standing here? That shows that there is a gap in our system. When we did the study across the city, there are this many locations where the littering of the waste happens, and most of them are the Raja Kalways or the stormwater drain or the lake beds. And we also did a study to see what is the composition of the waste. We also try to look at from where this waste has come, because you know that the envelope will have some addresses which gives an idea from which apartment or which location the waste has landed into that the position. Of course, one of my students got a doctorate based on this work, but unfortunate thing is still even today this continues. And the waste is being dumped in the drainages. You see that these are the location which has become a hotspot for the flooding in the region at a micro scale. Now, what is the treatment one can do? One can have the composting. So there are economical models are available, even the biomethanation. There's a three-part model. Individual houses can adopt for that, for the manure. And of course, at the community level, the Sahas and such NGOs have implemented the composting, window composting, etc. But unfortunately, even in Mandur, still I see the waste major fraction comes to the thing. And if you look at in the city center, you see these people who are doing the collecting the recyclable material. They are doing the great service to the society by collecting those materials, and those materials can also be converted into value added product. This is the case from the north. You see how the people have converted the waste into the value added product. So when you go to the Rajasthan or a Punjab, you will see this kind of items are available in the shop, which are made out of the waste that has generated in the locality. To summarize what I said so far, the waste generated at home, which has the organic and inorganic fraction, organic fraction can be converted into manure, and the food waste can be converted into the methane, which can be used for making the breakfast, etc. at home. And then you say that the manure can go to the agriculture field or for the farm or your garden, terrace garden, etc. But unfortunately, what happens? We mix everything and dump it in the dump sites. That's where it creates the problem of the leaching and the contamination. Now, when I look at the mismanagement, I would say that mismanagement happens at every level. Aam Aadmi is irresponsible, so there is no segregation, inefficient BBMP. Then we have the corrupt system, and that is where, the other aspect I noticed is that absence of enterprising youth in our city. When I gave a talk in the Madhya Pradesh some time back, the couple of engineering students were in my audience. So when I said that the waste is a wealth, they immediately came up with the Kabadiwala, .com. With that, they came up with a mechanism to collect the waste and process it. And today, they are millionaires, or probably they have become billionaires now. So that is the kind of the worth of the waste. That is what we have. The youngsters in Bangalore have not understood that. Because of that, we have the organic waste reaching the disposal site. There is no segregation for recyclable and reusable material. Everything gets into the dump sites, and you see that organic fraction and inorganic fraction both get into the system. Naturally, organic fraction leaches and it contaminates the surrounding water bodies. If you are staying closer to the dump sites, you will understand that your bore wells also have the leachates which contain the contaminants like nitrate and heavy metal, etc. Now, what needs to be done? I would say the best option is to have a decentralized waste management. So, and that means every apartment having the segregation at source, making the people, the apartment dwellers to segregate would be the best option. Not only this happens in the apartment, even in the all part of Bangalore, that should happen. And somehow we need to remove the waste mafia and contractors. We need to learn from our neighboring country, Sri Lanka, the way they removed the corrupt rulers. I think we need to also come up with a mechanism to do that. And the segregation at source level should happen. And then at ward level, having the resident association to manage the waste would be the best option, so that the elders in the apartment and women can take part in this one, and also the youngsters can take part in the technology and management of the thing. What they learn at home, they can also replicate at the much higher level. So now let us look at the other ways how we increase the carbon in our system. We have done the studies of the 10 cities in the country. We look at whichever city lack the public transport, the emission from the transportation sector is higher. For example, if you look at Hyderabad, 54% of the emission is from the transportation sector. And in Bangalore, it is the 45% come from the transportation sector. That means if you want to reduce the global warming and changes in climate, the first option we need to do is the improvement in the public transport. Public transport need to be economical, and it should be secure for our children and the women at home. When we do that, more and more people will use the public transport. Our study shows that 60 to 60% of our population who contribute to the two-wheeler users, and then the another 20 to 30% are the people single drive, the AC cars that contribute to this section 45% of the greenhouse gas emission from the transportation sector. Now, even the waste that we generate at home, as you know that waste consists of organic fraction. As it decays, it also generates a methane. Methane has the global warming potential 25 times higher than the carbon dioxide. That means the waste what we generate at home, if we do not segregate it and if we do not convert that into the manure, we are contributing to the methane generation, which will lead to the global warming. And similarly, the case with the liquid waste. The sewage generated at home, we should make sure that our BBMP does the waste water treatment. If the apartment which have the treatment plant, my request is to please make sure that the waste water treatment plants are functional. See, when I move around in Balandur and Vartur Lake, which is being rejuvenated, I am in the committee of the rejuvenation. When I go there, I still see that large amount of the untreated sewage getting into the lake, generously by the BWSSB. The days, there are some days when no one notices that they do not operate the treatment plant. That is where we have to make sure that the treatment plant which are there in our locality run by the BBMP also are functional. Then we need to make sure that the apartment where these treatment plants are there also are functioning properly. When we make sure that we are also giving a job to some section of the society, and we are also mitigating the pollutant that is getting into the environment. Then of course, when you look at the other aspect, the emission happens is one of my study brings out is the building architecture. When I look at this kind of architecture in Bangalore city, I can confidently say that how our engineers have learned the copy paste culture. These engineers who go to the European countries, they look at this architecture and they copy this architecture, they paste it in the environment like Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad. But what they do not understand is that this architecture is meant for a cooler climate or the temperate climate like European climate, so that you will have a thermal comfort because of the heat being retained in the building. But Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad being a tropical climate, we should not conserve heat inside the building. When we do that, our electricity consumption shoots up. When we did the studies in the 3,000 households in Bangalore, we saw that in the normal building, if the electricity consumption per person per year is 750 to 1,700 units per person per year, in the glass facade building, it goes to 14,000 to 17,000 units per person per year. See that the mistake of our engineers, the copy paste culture of the engineers has contributed to the 10 times higher electricity consumption, and 10 times higher electricity consumption means 10 times higher is we are contributing to the global warming. So that is where we need to bring awareness among all sections of the society regarding the implications of the copy paste culture or the irresponsible behavior. Now, what are the alternatives? I was just told that the apartment has the solar panel, and of course I see that solar panels in many apartments in Bangalore. And for your information, way back in 2009, my studies brought out the region, where all we can have the solar the mechanism to tap the solar potential. At that time, there was criticism. People said that some of the parts, the country has 130 to 160 days of cloudy days. They said this technology doesn't work. Then we did the study to prove that this works, and the proposal which I gave to the government was accepted, and that's how we have become slowly emerging as the leaders in the solar energy also. Now, when you look at the resources, we have abundant solar resources, the sufficient resources in most part of the year, except the 1 month, that is July. And we also looked at how much solar energy can be harvested. Now, when I did the rooftop harvesting in a houses where 100 to 150 units of electricity is used per month, they need to have the approximate calculation is that 150 square feet, the rooftop is required, so that they can have the solar panel which will sufficient generate the electricity, and then the residences can use that electricity. These are the technology that can be used. One is the hot water. All of us take the bath every day. That is where if we switch over to the solar hot water, we are also bringing down the electricity consumption. Using the electricity to boil the water is a very inefficient operation. We should not use the clean energy to boil the water. So that is where the switching over to the hot water, the solar hot water is the best option in any locality in our country. So then the PV panel, that is the thing. Even in the department, the place where I am working, you see that we have the solar PV panel on the rooftop, which of course we have the net metering, we give it to the grid, and then we get the discount in our billing also. So that's how the give and take mechanism works in our system. So then let us look at the lake issues. All of you are in the vicinity of the lake. Now you see that how we abuse the lake. We dump the solid waste. I give an example how it happens. Then we also encroach the lake beds, and we construct the lake view apartment. And we get excited when these apartments are allotted to us. And we think that we have done a wonderful job of getting an apartment in this locality closer to the lake. But when you look at the pathetic state of the lake, this Bangalore lake was receiving a 500 MLD of water every day, untreated sewage. And those who are away was sending it through the tankers. If you look at the midnight operation, some of the industries were sending this kind of tankers which dump the industrial waste into the lake. See, when the lake is in a clean state, which was the condition in mid-90s. And today, if you look at, there is a profuse growth of macrophyte happens. When there's a profuse growth of macrophyte in the lake, it does not allow the sunlight to penetrate. In absence of sunlight, you see the food chain does not work. So you see that algae population comes down. Since algae is not there, you see the fish population comes down. That's how the productivity of the lake comes down. Now, when you look at the quality of the water, if you see that when the lake was like this, some amount of sewage was coming from the vicinity, the DO was zero. But at the outlet, DO was as high as 12 to 14. But when we contaminate the lake, when we enrich the lake with the nutrient, with the raw sewage getting into the system, we saw that at outlet, DO comes down to 3 or 4, which shows that lake is not functioning. Now, this is where we have the problem of frothing of the lake and the fire. I have traveled many parts of the globe. No one has shown me the coexistence of fire and water except our Bangaloreans. And also the froth. If you look at the problem of froth is because of the phosphorus getting into the lake, which get trapped in the sediment because of the high wind during the pre-monsoon. Churning of the lake water happens. That's how the froth formation happens. If you have noticed earlier, the froth formation happened in the April or May month with the high intensity winds. What is the solution for this? We should have treated the sewage. We should have removed the N and P from the water. But what we did in the knowledge city, we just put the barricades. When this was implemented, I told the BDA, this is the illogical ad hoc decision. I wrote an article also saying that this solution is only for the 4 or 5 days. But the BDA claimed that they have succeeded. But in 4 or 5 days, as I predicted, froth crossed over. But in the process, I noticed that the BDA had spent about 2 crores on the barricades. You know that when they spend the money, how much money they take it home also, 40 to 50%. Their agenda is to loot as much as possible, but you see the Aam Aadmi do not get the same kind of the facility what they are supposed to get with the spending of the public money, which is not happening in our system even today. Okay, now other parts, what you see in the city, this you see that Rajakaluves, you all are worried about the water, the stagnation of the water during the monsoon, the flooding of the water. If you look at the way our engineers of the city are choking our Rajakalwe or the stormwater drains, my study shows that Rajakalways, if you look at the historical map, which were about 60 to 80 meter, our engineers have converted that into the concrete drains and the width of 18 meter or 20 meter. 80 meter width, they have reduced it to 20 meter. They do not understand. Our elders have created this stormwater drain depending on the amount of the water generated in the locality to carry that water or to transfer that water from one locality to the other. But unfortunately, current day engineers, they are keen on making the money. That's why they concretize the drain, which is again is the hydrological principle. You see the drain has to be natural so that the water percolation happen, water infiltration will happen, so that only the small amount of water will flow on the overland. But what you see is that when we concretize it, we are not allowing the water to infiltrate. All the 100% of water has to flow overland. Not only that, we are also narrowing it. That's why places like Koramangala and all are prone to the flood, is because of this, the corrupt design adopted by the BBMP to help the people who are in this locality, the building and other fellows who reside in this locality. And if you look at any lake, between two lakes, the region is supposed to be the wetland. That has to be conserved. But unfortunately, we are even concretizing that region. See, our study shows that, the lake, the fish is being used, consumed by the people, and people grow the vegetable in the downstream of the lake, in Ramgundnalli, Siddhapura, Fartur Lake, etc. And we collected those vegetables, then the fish sample, and also the milk sample, because the livestock in that region are fed with the green plant that grows in the lake. So then when we analyze this, all these samples had the heavy metal. You see that's how the heavy metal that is, indiscriminately disposed by the industries are getting into our food chain and getting into our food plates. That is where the kidney failures and cancers are increasing in the city. The data what I have, which shows the kidney failure, which was 1 in 1 lakh 12 years back, today it is 1 in 5,000. That's where you see more and more dialysis units in the hospitals are coming up. Our politician takes a the pride in inaugurating the dialysis unit in a hospital in their locality. But in the process, they do not understand. They are also exhibiting that their locality they have become an unhealthy locality because of the poor management of the natural resources or the pollution getting into the system. See, this is what we need to understand. The food what we take, if it is contaminated, we are going to pay the price. See, when I visit some of the schools in Vartur, in one of the school, KK English High School, I saw the LKG kid, the girl child, her one kidney has failed. In the same school, 8th standard, the girl child, 2 kidneys have failed. Both the kidneys have failed. When I look at it, their parents earn only 15,000 rupees a month. But for a dialysis of a child every week, twice, it requires about 1,500 to 2,000 per dialysis. That means per month, the child requires 16,000 rupees. Child has to pay this price because of we polluting the environment. And that is where the children have become vulnerable to the system. Now when I look at their parents earn only 15,000 rupees. They have to decide whether to take care of the child or whether to run their families. So this is the dilemma the people are facing. Only when people are in that category, when they face this kind of crisis, they will understand. Even in my institute, about 3 months back, one of my colleagues passed away because of the kidney failure. So that means irrespective of where we are, we have to be cautious about the pollutant that is getting into our food chain because of the indiscriminate disposal of the solid and liquid waste generated in the household as well as the industry. Now we are paying the heavy price. Before it is too late, let us wake up. Okay. Now that's what the World Health Organization talked about it. When we talk about health, it's not merely an absence of disease, but also a state of well-being, not only physical, but also mental, emotional, sociological, and spiritual. So to put it in a simpler words, what I said so far, we are paying heavy price in Bangalore because of the unplanned urbanization. We are losing the ecosystem and the pollutant are getting into the system. Some other solution is we need to improve the public transport, which has to be cost effective and secure. We need to manage the waste. That is where the apartment has to take a lead. If we make all the apartments zero waste, I would say that you are doing the greatest service to the nation. And of course, you can also make it a solar harvesting and make it a mandatory. Today, the technology has improved so much. Even your window panels, you can have the solar panels. Okay, and appropriately you bring the awareness among the all section of the society, make everyone environmentally literate. See, when I did a study in Bangalore to find out what is the environmental literacy in the city, see, you see that general literacy is as high as the 85.8%, which is next to the Mumbai, where it is about 88.7%. But when you look at the environmental literacy, the Bangalore environmentally literate people is only 3.5%. That means 96% of the people are environmentally illiterate. Because of that, we have the pollution in the system. We have irresponsible behavior in our system. Okay, now let me take you to the Western Ghats, because when we talk about water, we always look at the Western Ghats and we think about diverting the rivers, etc. You see that this is the kind of the environment I work. I spend a lot of my time in the Western Ghats, where we have the harmonious state of mind, body, and spirit. That's where we do the good science also. Now, why Western Ghats is very important? You see that how many the species that are there in this one, we have a diverse ecosystem. You see that the science says about 1 to 1.3 million species. And if you look at our scriptures, like Rig Veda talks about 8 to 12 million species. And when you look at Western Ghats, it extends from Kerala to Gujarat, 8 degree to 22 degree latitude. And this is the kind of the diversity of the plants and animals you see. And when you look at the diversity, you have diverse food. And because of diverse food, you have diverse medicine. Because of diverse medicine, you will have immunity in your body. So that is where we have the various categories of the organism, like umbrella, vulnerable species, flagship species. They all they characterize based on the kind of services they provide. Okay, this gives the statistic. Let me not get into the details of that. So now, when you look at the Kerala and Karnataka part of Western Ghats, you see here latitudinal gradient versus number of species are plotted. You see at 8 to 14 degree, you have the highest number of species. That means the responsibility is on our shoulders to protect and conserve this region, so that our children can have the diverse food and diverse medicine. Okay, but when you look at through the remote sensing, you see the degradation is happening. We have done the study using the big data with artificial intelligence and machine learning. I'll not get into the details of that, but it shows that the degradation is happening. We also predicted what is likely to happen if we continue to do that. If we continue to do that, the entire Western Ghats will have only 10% under evergreen forest. And the implication of that is there would be changes in temperature, 0.5 degree overall increase in the temperature. The rainfall will change. We'll have the erroneous, erratic rainfall. Some places will receive high rainfall, some places low rainfall, and more importantly, changes in rainy days. If you have read the paper last week, you would have noticed that Mumbai, which has received the rain in the last 12 days, what it was supposed to receive during the July month. So that means the rain which was supposed to come for a 4 to 6 months, if it falls in the 3 or 4 days, naturally the flooding will happen, and there are calamities associated with the flooding, as we saw that 18 people getting killed because of the flooding in Karnataka. So then let us try to understand why we need to, from where we can get the water, because as the apartment dwellers, another problem you face very often is the water. You end up at the mercy of the mafias, the tanker mafia. You are not sure what kind of water is supplied, and some of the people have become hypersensitive. They start using the RO water, but they do not understand one thing: RO technology does not distinguish the minerals which are useful mineral versus the one which harms our body. that removes all the mineral. That means the people who use too much of RO water are getting the water without minerals. That is where you see the higher instances of arthritis and the blood pressure, etc. in the region. Now, if you want to have water in your region, what you can do it, or you can take part. You might say, I am staying in an apartment, how this matters. If you conserve the forest in our country, you are getting the water in your at home. So that to conserve the water, this is the land cover that matters. That is what is evident from my study. In 91, when I visited this river basin, there was abundant water. But today when I visit the same location, I do not have water. When I look at this, the reason for this is it could be because of the forest in the region. Now, to understand that, we did a study in the Sharavati River Basin. We divided the river basin into the sub-basin. You see the dam was constructed in 1965. With the construction of dam, whether any changes happened in the system, we try to understand. When you look at this region, you see that this region is the undulating terrain. Entire region is a similar kind, rain-catching region. One part of the region has a dense forest like this region. Another part is like this, with the barren area and agricultural land. Now, if you want to see what changes have happened, we see that with the remote sensing data, the forest in this region is degraded. Now, the implication of that is, if you look at the rainfall, the entire region was receiving the rainfall of 3,000 to 4,500 during 1901 to 1964. But if you look at 1965 to today, you see that the one portion, this portion receives the 1,700 to 1,900 millimeter, while this portion where the forests are still intact, you see the rainfall of 3,000 to 4,500. To understand this, we did the study at the sub-basin level. There are sub-basins on the western side. These are the sub-basins on the eastern side. For each tributary, we delineated a sub-basin, and we looked at what is the forest cover and the rainfall. Now, when you look at that forest cover in the eastern side, there are 30% rainfall is 1,776 or 41%, 1,715. But on the western side, you see the forest cover is as high as 65% rainfall is 4,800 or 60% rainfall is 4,400. This establishes that if there is a forest in our catchment or a watershed, we will have the water throughout the rainfall, sufficient rainfall in the region. Then we did a study to find out whatever the rain you have got, how long the water is available in your wells or a stream. For that, we categorize the streams as A, B, C, D. A are the stream which carry the water for 12 months, B are the one for 8 months, C are the one for 6 months, and D are the one for only during the monsoon of 4 months. This is the study we did for the 36 months. My students monitored this basin to do this kind of analysis. We found that in a region, you have water throughout the year, provided we have the watershed with a native species of forest. When we convert the forest into monoculture plantation, you will have 6 to 8 months of water. When we degrade the catchment less than 30% green cover, you have the water only during the 4 months. Now, to summarize what I said so far, this is the region where you see 12 months of water available. Here, 8 months, yellow is the 6 months, this is 4 months. And if you overlay the forest cover, you see wherever forests are native species, we have 12 months water. Wherever forests are fragmented with rubber plantation, acacia, etc., you see 8 to 6 months of water is available depending on the water availability. Here, only 4 months water is available. The entire region has less than 30% green cover. Now, when you look at this region, you see that water is sufficient to meet the societal demand. Whereas in this region, there's a scarcity of water. And if you want to understand the importance of the water, if you look at the livelihood aspect, the farmers in this region, if they earn 1,54,000 rupees per acre per year, the farmers in this region earn only 32,000 rupees per acre per year. Now, the reason for this is farmers in this region, since the water is available throughout the year, they can grow cash crop or a multiple crop, while the farmers in this region can grow only one crop. Another interesting fact is that since this is a native, diverse species forests are there in the region, the pollinators are higher in number, they are diverse. The pollinators like bees and butterflies, etc. So because of that, pollination is efficient. When the pollination is efficient, your yield in the crop becomes higher. See, in this region for paddy, for example, if they get 14 to 16 quintal per acre, in this region, the farmers get only 4 to 6 quintal per acre. So that now you see that wherever forests are there, there is a development. People have got the water. People are well off. Only when looters go to the region in the name of development, they convert that forest into the rubber plantation. They develop, but they will deprive the local people their right to live. This is the kind of the thing is happening in our country. See, whenever people talk about increasing GDP at the cost of forest, I always question them, the development at what cost? If it's going to deprive water to our children, I would say we will not agree to the such development. This is the work we published in Current Science. Those who are interested can go through this publication. Okay. Now you might ask, what will happen if the water crisis? See, you see that this gives the distribution of animals, like sloth, bear, tiger, etc. They are there where water is available 12 months. Only two-legged animals is there in the region where water is not there. We found that these two species of fish, which has a medicinal property, which is used for the curing the respiratory diseases. I thought that if I bring this to my lab in Bangalore, if I culture it, I will get the same medicinal property, but that was not true. The medicinal property of the fish was lost or degraded. So that is where means the fish, if I have to have medicine, I should make sure it occurs in a region, its habitat. Then only it can ensure the medicine. For that, stream should have water throughout the year because the fish can live only with the water. So for that, the surrounding area, watershed area should have the forests of native species. That means this fish tells us if the forest is protected and conserved, they'll also give medicine to us. So now let us try to understand, if water is not there on the earth, what will happen? I would say that no humans will survive, but the organism like frogs will survive. The frogs has 2 stages in their life cycle. When they fertilize the egg, the young ones come out, the juvenile stage, the tadpole stage, which is in the water. Next stage is the adult stage, which is on the land. That because of that, the frogs are known as the amphibian, because they can live in water in the first stage and on the land later stage. So now if the water is not there, what will happen? Let us try to understand with an example of this particular species, Philatus leucorinus. We saw that after fertilization, the egg, the younger one didn't, we saw that tadpole stage was not there. On the 14th day, we saw the adults emerging out of this fertilized egg. That means these animals have learned how to get adapted to a situation when there is a water scarcity in the region. That means we animals have learned, but humans have not learned, and humans are going to pay the heavy price with the scarcity of water or the acute shortage of water on the earth. Okay, now considering that our elders have protected the patch of forest in the name of sacred groves or the cons, when you visit the Kerala or the Karnataka part of Western Ghat, you see this kind of the Devarakadus or the sacred groves in the region. These are the kinds of species you see that. You get the nutmeg and such medicinally important species also, and the plant that grow in that region, they have got adapted to the marshy conditions also. Now, if there is no water, what will happen? Let us learn from the history. See, the Easter Island, the fools like our Bangalore, they expanded the island thinking that land is available, people can stay. But they realized that island people have to vacate because of the scarcity of water. Or if you look at the last leg of the Vijayanagar kingdom failed because of the water scarcity. Now that is what we need to learn. We should not make our water resources go the acute. That is where we need to manage the system to ensure that water scarcity doesn't happen to our children. Now, with the flooding in the region, you see that these are the kinds of problem people in the coast, etc. So this is in the northern Karnataka. This is in the Uttar Kannada district or the Karwar district. You see that. Then how we can conserve the water? There are simple things. Probably the residents in the apartment, the children can adopt this. They are also this. And my simple solution is, if they take the healthy food, they are conserving the water. So my suggestion is, that also improve the water use efficiency, is to have pulses in their food, which helps in the weight management. It helps in optimal brain functioning, good source of vitamins, and also it controls diabetes and lower the blood pressure. To give a proof of this, one of my colleagues who was head of the place, he had the diabetes and sugar, diabetes and the blood pressure. But after retirement, his food plate, dinner plate looks like this. He has 5 varieties of vegetable, 5 varieties of fruit, and a bowl of pulses. The diversity of fruits and vegetable ensures the stability or the health in your system, while the pulses gives the stability. That's where when your food is the diverse, you will have health in your body. So now when you start eating this, naturally we need to grow. Let us see the water footprint for this. To grow a kg of pulses, we need only 200 liters of water. To grow the rice or wheat, we need 3,000 to 5,000 liters of water. To grow sugar, you need 12,000 liters of water. And also another important thing is these pulse plants are not eaten by wild animals. That means in the villages which are infested with a wild animal, if we grow the pulse crop instead of rice or wheat or sugar, we are also reducing the human-animal conflict. That is what we need to do in our system. In places where animals move, we should make sure that the pulses are grown. Okay. Now with that, let me bring you to the Bangalore. So see, this is how the Bangalore topography is. You know, when you look at Bangalore of 740 square kilometer, in 1800, we had interconnected water bodies, 1,452, 82% green cover. And because of that, temperature in the city in the May month, that is summer, is 14 to 16 degrees Celsius. And during December, for a few days, we had 0 degrees Celsius. And we were growing apples in a place called Palace Orchard, closer to IIC. Today, when you look at this place, we don't see the apple, but we see that okay. Yeah. Is there any suggestion? Luke, you have any suggestion?
Doctor, I mean, we are listening very carefully to the deep insights you're providing to us. Will your lecture be longer, or how long more?
You can tell me if you want me to stop. I'll stop right now, or if you give me 10 or 12 minutes, I'll wind up.
That's fine, doctor.
Okay, fine.
Please.
Yeah. Now I have come to Bangalore from Western Ghats. You see that my stay in Western Ghats is longer than in Bangalore. Okay. So now the city, if you look at, we have 193 water bodies and green cover is less than 8%. When you look at the way the city, this is the interconnected water bodies we have in the city today, but the interconnectivity is lost. And when you look at the lakes, why do we need? Lakes provide fish, fodder, and also water for washing the cloth, agriculture, etc. It helps in groundwater recharge, and also it treats the pollutant, and it moderates the microclimate. It also provides the recreation. We looked at the economic aspect of that. And also this, say when the lakes were there, groundwater table was at 80 to 100 feet. When the lake was removed, in 5 years, we saw groundwater table went down to 600 feet. Today, people in that locality, after 20 years, I see they have gone down to 1,100 feet. There is no water in the well. Okay. Now, the worth of the lake, if you want to see that, when the lake was in good shape, you know that it gives a goods worth 10,500 rupees per day per hectare. When you pollute the lake, the worth come down to 20 rupees per day per hectare. Not only that, our study shows that people spend on an average about 30,000 rupees per year on repellent and other medicines related to the mosquito, the related diseases. Okay. Now, we looked at what is the worth of the lake. So now, if you want to see what are the threats, you see that the lakes are being polluted and we are losing the lake. To understand this, so let us see how the changes happened. In 1973, 68% of the city is green with a vegetation. Blue is water body, yellow is open space. Only the buildings were here in the core area. 92, with the industries coming up, you see changes started happening. 99, with ITPT coming in the outskirts, things started changing. Then intensification, 2009. And then you see that our prediction shows that 98.5% of the Bangalore landscape will be concretized by 2025. During the last 5 decades, we have lost 1,000. There has been increase in 1,055% increase in concrete area. We have lost 88% vegetation and 79% of the water bodies. You see that when you look at number of trees, we have for every 7%, 1 tree. For a city of population of 9.5 stable population, we have 1.5 million trees. And what should have been there? It should have been 7 to 8 trees. Okay. Then when you look at the water bodies, you see these are the red ones are the one we have lost. 79% we have lost. Implication of losing this natural, the entities, the ecosystem. The increase in temperature, what was 19 degrees in 90s became 21 degrees in 2000 or 27 degrees in 2006, and today 37 to 40 degrees. To understand the services provided by the water bodies, if you move from the center of the city, you see that wherever lakes are there, wherever parks are there, temperature is 2 degrees lower. That means the lakes and parks helps in the moderating the climate. Okay. Now, this is the interconnected water body we are supposed to have. but we have lost the interconnectivity. This has lost because of the influential suction encroaching the lakes and Rajakalways. So now these are the violation that has happened, the dumping of solid waste, etc. When you come to the Belandur and Vartur Lake is under being rejuvenated, the desilting is happening. The Vartur Lake silt, we have analyzed the quality of the silt. The Vartur Lake silt does not have any contaminants. And if you look at the quantity of the silt that is accumulated in the lake is about 11 million cubic meter, or the worth of the silt is about 1,500 crores. If you look at the N and P content in the thing, it could be as high as 15,000 crores. Now, we have talked to the farmers in the region. Farmers have taken the silt in the 400 acres as a part of the desilting. The silt is being removed from the thing, and farmers in the vicinity have taken the thing. And Belandur Lake is the silt is going to the quarry pits. So now the farmers have used this, and when I visit the place, the farmers are very happy because of the nutrient-rich the silt. They could grow the vegetables, the greeny vegetables and radish, etc., brinjal, etc. And their profit is as high as 1,50,000 rupees per acre. This is additional benefit than what the regular benefit they are getting it. That means the silt has the nutrient which is beneficially being used by the farmer in the region. The 400 acres of the silt has been given to the 400 acres. Now you see 1,50,000 per acre into 400. Already how much money we have saved in the system because of the wise use of the silt. So then what else can be done? Wastewater treatment with a constructive wetland and algal pond, rainwater harvesting, and create the water bodies. These are some of the things we have done. Mini forest in the each locality. And another thing, what I am doing is sensitizing the youth. I have a network of institutions, schools and colleges where we sensitize the youth. Now, this is the Jakkur Lake. Way back in 2005, when we did the study in Jakkur Lake and surrounding wells had a nitrate, which is a carcinogen. So then we pushed the government to rejuvenate the lake. I was in the committee. I made sure that constructive wetland and algal pond are integrated along with the secondary treatment plant. When you look at now, there are 300 wells in the locality and the lake water quality, none of them have nitrate. I have a satisfaction of giving the science, through the science, the clean water to at least these people in the vicinity. So there has been the 85 to 90% removal of the nutrient because of this constructive wetland and algal pond. So now when you look at the city receives the rainfall of 700 to 850 millimeter. That means 15 TMC of rainwater is available. And that is where we in the apartment, it's wise to have the rainwater harvesting as well as the recharge pits, so that you can make sure that the groundwater get recharged. So we should move away from concretizing every parcel in the apartment complex. Now, when you look at the city requires 18 TMC of water. 70% of the water required for Bangaloreans is available in the form of rainwater. If you are if you are using 18 TMC of water, you are also generating 18 TMC of water. If we treat it similar to Belandur and Jakkur Lake, this constructed wetland, you will get a 16 TMC of treated water. That means 15 TMC plus 16 TMC, 31 TMC, you have surplus water in the city. That can happen only if you have a responsible citizen who do not pollute the lake, who take part in the rejuvenation of the lake and reuse and recycle the wastewater. If it happens, we will have the lake for our children in the next century. So this is how we do the children taking part in the planting. You'll see that when you come to my campus, I have created a water body in the campus. This is a lab for my students who work on biofuels. Not only students are happy, I also have otter in the campus. Otter requires fish. I don't go and feed that. But when we did the study, my job of facilitating water storage in this region has created an ecosystem. We have algae, we have sufficient fish in the system. What I have done is whatever the water I consume, my family requires about 1 to 1.2 lakh liters of water every year. I'm giving back 10 times that through the storage of water. If everyone does it, there won't be a poverty or scarcity of resources. When I meet people, I make sure they also implement it. This is in a Mudbitre, this is in an engineering college in a Mudbitre. Within a year, you can see that people with the abundant greenery and the abundant resources of water. So there is a smile on everybody's face. Okay. Now, when you come to my campus, you will see the mini forest. And this is the climber you will see in the campus, which I was fascinated when I was working in the Western Ghats. I felt that I should have it in the campus. I brought the seeds to the campus. Out of the 14 seeds, 7 seeds I planted in 7 locations. Out of 7 locations, in only 1 location, it has survived. That is next to this building where I have been working for the last 2 decades. That means even the plants know who will take care. That in front of the building, we created a mini forest in a 2 hectares area. The 49 native species were planted, 500 sapling way back in 90s when I was a student, and in a region which is infested with Parthenium. And today, when you come and see, you get a feel of the rainforest. And if you look at the groundwater data, you see the groundwater, which was about 150 feet in this region. When the region was infested with Parthenium, I have the water at 5 to 10 feet. That means not just the complicated models, even the simple model of creating a mini forest shows that I can have water in the region and also linkage between the water and vegetation. When that is there, you will see the abundant diversity of fauna also, like slender lories and varieties of snakes in this region. So then these are the Know Your Ecosystem, where we have a network institution where we do the orientation program for the school children. And also I offer a course called Environmental Management the Municipal Solid Waste during September to December. Now the advertisement is on the online. So this is for the industry, people working in industries and universities and institutions. This is the 19th session I have conducted. The 20th session we have announced now. That's how we do the capacity building at all levels. So now we also organize a symposium, popularly known as Lake Symposium, once in 2 years. When you look at this international event, it is the forum wherein all the stakeholders take part. You can see the public taking part, the politician, the international expert, national expert, and more importantly, 40% of my audience are the school and college students. When they take part, the capacity building happens. And also on the last day, they also do the presentation. That's how the knowledge sharing happens. This is the kind of the experiment children do. This is the school from KK High School in Vartur. They did the catchment mapping, water quality, etc. You see the children were working the way back in 98 and 2000. Because of their work, today the rejuvenation is happening in the region of Belandur and Vartur. See, the children also did the carbon sequestration potential in the trees in the region. So now if those who are interested can get more of my talk available in various languages at the YouTube. And these are the portal where my publications are available. So you can write to me at this email ID. When you look at my research portal, it gives the details of all the event, including the publications, what we have published. In the Bangalore, we have also in the Karnataka, we have created the water testing labs in various institutions, because I noticed some of the rural schools do not have the capability of the water testing. My agenda is when I equip the child today, that child become a responsible child so that there won't be any pollution of the water or contamination in the water and air. So this is our glimpse of the solar work. And my vision is the country has 65% youth. We have abundant solar energy, which is being converted into electricity. If we, through the algae, we can have the liquid fuel. So if we harvest that, we can make the country the sustainable development with the developed country. Okay. So these are the details. And the youth are responsible for doing this science. When they do a good job, the society also will have smile. Thank you very much. Mr. Luke, I have completed.
Thank you, Doctor. This has been a wonderful session for nearly an hour and a half. I have felt that I was in a classroom in IISc listening to you.
Oh, well, I took only 72 minutes, not
Okay.
1.5 hours. Okay.
Okay, 72 minutes. So in 72 minutes, I felt you have covered a very large space of the subject, providing us deep insights into misuse of plastics, into Western Ghats ecology, into our lakes and whatnot. Thank you very much, Doctor. This has been a very stimulating talk. I am sure many of us who are listening to you now, as well as those who would listen to your recording, will understand the importance of preserving our ecology conserving our ecology and creating a better environment for us that used to exist in time immemorial, long back, long back. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate the time. We appreciate the time you gave us. I really feel I am very lucky to have been able to get your time. I know how difficult it is to get your time. You are a very busy person. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Pradeep, would you like to say anything?
No, any questions you can take, no, sir.
Yes, yes.
I just say my
Please.
Professor Ramchandra, I think it's been great. I think I'm really humbled to hear you and to see you as well. So I'm a great fan of yours and also a great admirer of you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Those who have questions, please feel free to ask.
So I have one question to Ramchandra. So doctor, so like I had seen some of the ministers talk and all. I mean, so they were saying there is a lot of water wastage by leaving the water to confluence with the sea. So we should create the dams and make use of the make good use of the water and all. Do you really see this as a good use of the
Well,
water?
you know that today's decision makers, their agenda is to mismanage resources and fool the people. You know, to understand flooding in Karnataka, they land up in Ladakh. That itself shows that how irresponsible they are. Now, coming back to the water situation, I showed the situation where by harvesting and wastewater treatment, you have a surplus situation of 31 TMC. Okay. Now, I'm sure you are talking about Mekedatu project. You know, when you look at Mekedatu project, you know, we are submerging the forest area, which is worth 100 billion rupees. You know, that is the worth of the forest. Second thing is, you know, the forest does an important job of retaining the water. The percolation of water happens, infiltration happens, you know, to an extent of 65 TMC. My question to the government is to store, you know, 65 TMC of water. You are submerging the forest, which is worth 100 billion rupees, and which is storing the water in the underground layer to an extent of 100 TMC. You know, the moment I gave this fact in the system, some of these people stopped talking about it. And fortunately, the government of Tamil Nadu has taken it seriously, and they are using my data to see that this kind of projects doesn't come. See, my worry is that, you know, when we construct a dam, okay, whatever the water we are storing in the forest, you know, slowly that was going to the downstream. That's how the aquifers were getting recharged, and people in the downstream, Tamil Nadu people, all were getting benefit of that. If we remove that, naturally, of course, the politicians who are interested in timber, they are doing that. You know, spending 50 billion rupees to remove 100 billion worth forest is ridiculous. You know, that is where we should wake up. We should show that we have spinal cord. The day when Indians show that they have spinal cord in their body, no, there won't be any kind of mismanagement in our country. That is what has to happen in our country. That's what I am trying to do. That, you know, how I am popular among the politicians also. So the way I am attacked in the system and try to eliminate in the system, you know, that's where I keep telling my family and my student, when I go out, don't worry if I don't come back. Okay. So this is what is the thing. So that with that the motto we are working, and I am sure we'll succeed in our system, and we'll put an end to this kind of illogical designs and this. You know, you said that water going to the ocean is waste. It is only the waste people will say. If I don't send that much waste water to the ocean, you know, the saline water during the ferocious monsoon will come to the inland. Your wells in the coastal area get saline. You know, it will affect the livelihood of the people. You know, that is what happened in Gujarat. And if you want, you can also do the Google search in Russia with a diversion of rivers, etc. How people in that coastal area are affected, how their livelihood are affected. See, we need to learn from such this, and then only we should talk about this project. And I am sure the youngsters of today who are tech savvy, They should do this kind of thing and alert those my friends who are in those stone building with a stone head to understand these things. See, only the youth can change the system. That's what my hope is. My job is to equip the youth with the required knowledge, not the wrong knowledge, the right knowledge, so that they can assert and make sure that we put an end to all kinds of mismanagement. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. Thank you.
Doctor, one question. I'm Satish here.
Yeah.
Specific to apartment. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I have come from the part of city which is called Yelanka, where we don't have the BWSSP water, and we live in an apartment where self-sufficient with about 7 or 8 recharging pit and borewell alone. However, the STP what we use and we reuse for flushing, but the excess water is excess. So we don't know what to do this. And of course, the government law says that you cannot give to UGD, you cannot give to stormwater, you cannot give to anywhere. So what is that the position scientifically, sir?
See, there are two aspects to your question. You know, all these builders, when they got the permission from the authorities, they have given that there is a zero discharge. That means no water will come out of the apartment, everything will be used, which is impossible in our system. If you look at the quantity of water being used, everything cannot be reused. See, one of the option is, if there is a land available, you know, you can create a small wetland with the constructed wetland with the marshy plants. You know, the plant you are, I think you are from South Canara. I'm
Yes,
sure you know
yes.
some of these plants like colocasia. In South Canara, you make patrade out of it. The kesa, you call it. You know, such plants, you can use it so that, you know, you get a good, you can make patrade at home. At the same time, your groundwater will not have any contaminant because the plants would have taken N and P so that you will have the reason. So in a way, if the government says don't listen, if you have a land in your locality, you can create the wet land. So it will not have any mosquitoes also. Mosquitoes will come where only humans are there. When you have constructed wetland, you can do it. Otherwise, you can make sure that in the vicinity, you have the small area, you can convert that into the sun. Since you said from Yelanka, you know, there is a Kodigehalli lake is there. I am sure you are aware of that.
Yeah, we are very near to that, sir.
And you see all these local lords in that region, they are trying to encroach by dumping the solid waste. If you people can take part and make sure that is stopped, that would be the wonderful thing. Today they will dump. Eventually you will see the apartment created by them, and then we end up paying and getting into those apartments. I think we should break this link now.
Sure, sir. Actually, we started a movement called Raj Kavale to construct. We are pushing the local politicians and people to have a Raj Kavala, which is not there. It is there in the map, but it's not constructed. So we are pushing that to take this water to Puttanalli Lake.
No, actually, Rajakalve, if you look at the topographic map, you will see Rajakalve is there in the entire Bangalore. I also showed in my map. All our lakes are interconnected. Rajakalves are there. In fact, in last time when flooding happened in Kendriya Southern, I had gone to the vicinity of that area. You know, one of the builder has blocked the Rajakalve and he has constructed this one.
True.
So what will you do with that? Because of him, we have a problem of flooding in the region. People have to struggle. I saw the women getting into the boat and all those problems. I saw that. So somebody makes money and fools the people, and the community pays heavy price for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
True,
You know, that is where I am insisting the government that this data of lakes, Rajakalves, all should be available in public domain. So today, if you see in closer to your place, Yelanka, we have Karnataka State Remote Sensing Application Center. They have digitized all the things. The data is available in digital form. If we can bring that digital form on the net and make it available to the public, then we all will know where the common lands are available, which are public lands are available, so that we can make sure that no one mismanages or encroaches that. The politicians do not want that to happen because hiding the information is beneficial to them. That is what we should stop that. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Ramchandran, I am Nagaraj Rao, President, Bangalore Apartment Federation. Nice listening to you. I'm
Okay.
stuck with my mobile for quite some time. Very, very interesting. We will definitely record this and then make it available to many, many more because it's worth doing it. Very much. Thank you very much. It was very interesting, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Sure. Thank you.
Luke, if there are no more questions,
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much. We appreciate the time you have given us. We are greatly benefited. We have learned a lot of additional information during this session. Thank you, sir.
Now the action is required. Action for people and nature. I am sure the community which resides in the apartment can be that.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Sure.
So
Thank
actually,
you very much.
I agree, Doctor. I agree, Doctor.
Yeah.
Dr.
Dr.
Ramchandran, I
Will-
actually want to ask that. I must say, being a common man like us, right? How we can also participate in your revolutionary study and etc. Right? Is there any way to participate along with you?
Oh, well, Mr. Arun, this
Yeah.
is a kind of question I get immediately after my talk. But
Okay.
response is that after that, no, people don't even identify me in the airport or railway station or a bus stand. That is the situation I'm facing. That means forget about identifying me. At least my concept is they take it to their village and make the village self-sustained village. I would say that is the wonderful thing. The God has given some resources to all of us. We are slightly well off. Let us make our villages green, and so that our farmers, our the friends residing villages are well off. We should do that. Okay.
Sure, Doctor.
Thank you,
We
sir.
need a lot of green around us. We have already destroyed a lot of it, but let's create more.
Yeah.
Yes, we need to do that. We have lost 88%.
It saddens me that every other day the Western Ghats are depleting. I'm great lover of nature. So
No,
yeah.
No,
actually,
in our own,
the government of India came up with a notification to declare 58,000 square kilometer as ecologically sensitive region. But our government of Karnataka doesn't want that.
Yeah.
See what kind of rulers we have. Rulers want to loot as much as possible when they are in the office at the cost of our children, That is what we have to alert the system. We need to make sure, I would say this message should go to the judiciary also. The people, the judiciary can take a wise decision, because sometimes I see the decisions are also slightly diluted. I don't know whether brief cases also move in that system, but I see the diluted thing comes this one, whether it is a buffer region for the lake. I was really disappointed with the kind of the judgment that came as far as the buffer zone for lakes and Rajakalways are concerned. Our government argued that Mumbai and Hyderabad have a lesser buffer area. Why should Bangalore should have 75 meters for the lake? But
Right.
before that, a lot of homework was done. I know about it through my friends in Delhi. So this is what we have to remove that from our system. If I remove the corruption, I know that everyone can do that. The things will change. But I don't believe in a people in Delhi with a white cap on their head. They have become much more notorious in the system by giving a freebies in the system. They are going to kill our country, with a free electricity and all those things. That's where educated section of society should alert them. Make them to stop such illogical freebies in the system.
Yep.
Okay.
Doctor,
Thank you, sir.
we will definitely utilize your services. There are a few apartments in the federation where they have some mini forests. I will request you to visit some of them and then advise them how they can improve it further. It will definitely
Okay.
bother you more hereafter.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, doctor.
Yeah. Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, I can leave, no?
Yes. Thank you, doctor.
Okay,
Have a
thank you.
great weekend. Have a great weekend. We will keep
Yeah.
consulting you.
Sure, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, doctor.
Yeah, thank you.